So we have finished drawing the figures here. We're going to add dimensions now. So at this point, I'm going to get rid of all these extra hidden lines that I no longer need, or I'm sorry, not hidden lines, but our projection lines. I will need a box around each view that I'm going to offset. If you remember from the dimension unit, we are offsetting a box 3/8 and then an additional 1/4 inch around there. So I'm going to go to no print, and I need a new box up top here. So I'll go ahead and draw that in. I have these lines, but this is not a box, so I will go back and draw a box over top of that one, and I will also draw a box over top of this. Normally you would not want lines stacked on top of one another, but these are no print lines, so that's not an issue. I'm going to go to the offset tool. My first offset is 0.375. That's how far away our first set of dimensions should be away from the object, just to give that object space. So we're going to do that on all three. And then if we need a second line of dimensioning, they'll be out an additional 1/4 inch, so 0.25. So we will offset these boxes out here. That's where we want to place our dimensions. Now, we have a couple extra things we want to add in. We want to add in some center marks, and we also want to add in center lines. So I'm going to add in my center lines first. I'm going to go to the center layer, and when I draw this in, I'm going to try to get that midpoint, but it looks like I am going to have to project off of here. I'm going to go ahead and offset a line out. We'll go 0.125. And that's how far out I'm going to have this center line stick out. And I will just draw from here to this point. And then I'm going to take this, I'm going to stretch it until it hits this line up here. Now if you notice, similar to when we did hidden lines, this did not show up with the dash pattern. The layer property should be set up that the center line is set to a center line. It should give you this long short dash, and it's because the line is too short. There are two ways we could go around this. We could look at the center line and we could see if there is a center 0.5x, and we could try this one. Let's try that first and see if center 0.5x will work for us. And that does seem to work. We'll see if it works down here. If not, we'll make a couple adjustments there. So I'll go ahead and offset these boxes out once again, just for my center lines. This one here, I don't need to extend the center line all the way up to here. I just want to come out about 1/8 of an inch beyond the object, and as long as you are being consistent, it is fine. So if you were out 3/16, that would be fine as well. But I'll go back to my center layer now, and I will redraw in a line from here to here, and then I will click and extend it from this end point down till it hits that one. I can copy that over, and I accidentally moved this hidden line here, so I'm going to move that back. So I'm going to copy this line from this point over to here, and I'm going to draw another line in for this view, and we'll take that one over to here. Now for these circles, when you add a dimension in, so if I go up here and I add a diameter in, it should automatically generate a center point. Center point is one of the few things you'll have to leave the home tab for. If you go over to annotate, there is a center point tool. It's going to give you a little bit larger one if you'd like to use that. Either one is perfectly fine. Now that we have our center lines and center marks on there, we're ready to add some dimensions. You'll be using the exact same dimensions given to you to draw this. So before I go any further, I'm going to set my current layer to dimension. I'm going to go to linear, and I'm going to go ahead and pop in a couple dimensions here. Remember, we want to think about where the profile of the shape is. So this 1.5, this should go in the front view. So I'm going to click from here to here, and then I'm going to pull that out to this point. And you notice I grabbed the wrong point here. I can simply bring this up, and I could place that point back on here, but I'm missing the tail, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of that, and we'll pop that back in. That's going from here to here, and we're going to drop that on this layer right here. Now I've got a lot of extra zeros set up, and I've got to edit some text sizes to this fit. So now that I have one up there, I'm going to open up the annotation toolbar, and the second button on the left is dimension style. So you're going to select dimension style, and you're going to go to modify, and we're going to go through changing a couple things. We may have done this already as a group, so you can skip ahead if you've already done this. But I'll go to lines, extension beyond dim lines. This should be 1/8 of an inch. Offset from origin, that's this little space here, 1/16 of an inch. Symbols and arrows, we're going to drop these down to 1/8 of an inch as well, just so things fit in there nicely. Text, we'll set text to 1/8 of an inch as well. Fit, either text or arrows is fine. Primary units, we're going to suppress leading and trailing zeros so we don't end up with all those extra zeros after the 5. And decimal degree will go out 2 decimal places on that one. We don't need anything in alternative. You can also suppress leading and trailing zeros on your angular dimensions. So we will hit OK on that and set current. And you'll see that makes things a little easier to read. What I usually recommend you do is, as you place the dimensions on here, just put like a circle or a check mark around them to show that you have completed that. That way you know you're finished when you're all done. And you may find it's easier to, I'm going to dump these 1/8 inch boxes out of here so I don't continue to click on some of those. So I'll continue going around. I'm going to put my length dimension down here, and I'll snap that right there. And then I can copy this little circle as I go and make sure I'm putting all those in there. In the top view, I want to locate where this circle is, so 0.75 over and 0.75 up. So this is where we're going to run into where we need both levels of dimensioning. So if I click from here to here, drop that in, and then I also put a dimension from here to here, and I pull this out. Now, AutoCAD put this out here. If you want, you can select it and you can drop it on the inside. Sometimes it doesn't fit and you just have to leave it on the outside. That's perfectly fine. The next one I'm going to add in is one that gives me the entire width across. I'm going to drop this one out here. Typically we want to keep our number in the center. If it is going to be intersected there, you can drop it down a little bit to make it a little bit easier to read. Again, we're all about trying to make things easy to read, easy to communicate here. The next piece I might do probably this 0.56, and that would make sense here. This is the profile. I see a line here. I see the shape of that right here. So I'm going to go ahead and put another linear dimension in, and I'll drop that here. You can see if that one will fit on the inside. Sometimes you can pop that in there and it'll push the arrows to the outside. You'll have to play around with what's going to be your best fit on some of those. I have this outer one, so this drop down up here, I'll select radius. You can pop that one out there on that first layer. And then we have a fillet down here. So on this one, and this is, you don't need to bring this all the way up to here. You can kind of leave this right down there. That's perfectly fine. So if we go around, I'm going to say, all right, well, I did this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and I did this one. So the things I have left, I have this chamfer note, and then I have these 2 holes. We'll start with the chamfer note because that one's pretty simple. You will start with the leader tool. Now, I have not updated the size to my leaders, so these are different than dimension, but if you go into this third button on the left, you can modify your leader size so it matches everything else. So you can make these arrowheads 0.125. And let's see, under content, you can change this height to 0.125 so it matches your dimensions. And then you just want to hit set current and close that. So I will add a leader. I'm going to grab a point along here. I'm going to pull that leader down, and then I can type what I want that to say. And you're typing the exact same thing that goes down here. So 0.25 by 0.25 chamfer. And we do want to use all caps whenever we're calling any of this stuff out. Now again, the best method would be to add in all symbols instead of the through here. We can disregard the through. We'll just use the other symbols that are on here. I did forget to put the ×2 on that. So I'll just double click and then do X2 on the chamfer. So I'm calling out both of those. The next one I'm going to do is the counter bore here. So I will first start with a diameter. And I want diameter 0.75 first. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this inner circle, and then I'll drop that up on this box. And at this point, I have to make some edits to this text. So what I'm going to do is explode it. So I'm going to use the explode tool, and now it's just lines and this piece of text. I need to make this piece of text say the counterbore diameter of 1 and depth. You'll need to download this dimension symbols AutoCAD drawing to grab these 3 symbols from. That's on Schoology in the Hinge base assignment. All you have to do then is copy those to the clipboard and then go back to your Hinge base and just kind of paste those in somewhere. So we have those. We're ready to modify this. We've already exploded it. We're going to make it look like this one here. So it'll say counterbore and then the diameter 1 inch and the depth of 0.25. So I'm going to double click and I'm going to go down here, and from the symbols drop down I will add diameter and then I'll put 1.00, and then I'm going to add a couple spaces in so that I can put that depth character in, and then I'll put in the 0.25. I'm also going to add a couple spaces here so I can put in the counterbore symbol. We may have to adjust that. We'll see what that looks like. And then I will just move this down into place. So put that right in front there. So it says counterbore diameter 1. And then I will grab the depth symbol and I'm going to move that in front of the 0.25. Then you have that one done. Last thing to do is to get the countersink up here. So again, I will start with a diameter dimension. I'm going to pull that off the smaller circle and I'll drop that right up about here. Again, anywhere between 30 and 60 for your leader is perfectly fine. We need to explode that next. So we're breaking that into text and just lines. We're going to look at the note down here, so we can disregard the through part, but it should say diameter 0.5 and then countersink diameter 0.75 by 60 degrees. So we're going to add that in. So I'll double click my text box here and then I'm going to hit return to go down to the next line. First thing will be the countersink symbol, so I'll give myself a couple spaces there. What you might need to do, this is center aligned text right now. I'm going to go to justification and pick top left, and then I can move it later. So I'll drop down here, give myself a couple spaces for that countersink symbol, and then go up to the symbols drop down and add diameter. The diameter was 0.75, and then times 60 degrees. Degrees is up here in symbols. I can close that. I will then move that over so it looks like it starts at the end of that leader, and then I can simply bring in my countersink symbol and drop that in place. Those are the last 2 then. So if I were to take my little circle, continue kind of checking off with that circle that I've done them all, I've got everything dimensioned. Last thing to do would be to put it in a border. So I would draw a no print line diagonally across the workspace here. Now we need to make sure dimensions fit in, so I'll click across the whole thing and we'll see how that works out. So we'll move this over from its midpoint to the midpoint of that line, so right there. That looks a little tight right there, so I'll have to move a couple things around in order to get that to work. If you need to drop it down here, if you need to bring it over to this angle, that would be perfectly fine. So the tricky part about this is I have exploded this, so I can't, if it was just a diameter, I could take it and just pull it over. It is just lines and arcs right now. So if I was going to rotate this thing, I'd have to like rotate this over from the center point of the circle. Makes it a little messier. So if I rotate this over and let's say I want to drop it kind of right there, then I would have to move this line over there to there. So I'm going to double click my text, highlight the text, and then I will do top right justification for this one. And then I can push this over. So I'll take this over here and move my countersink symbol over with it. And then you are ready to print. If you have any questions, let me know. Thank you.